Here we go again, folks. This is chapter 12. It's going to be about cost-effective climate policies. So we've been looking at various aspects of climate policies, and we'll fine-tune some of the points, but upfront we should know that Mark Jacobson forcefully argues that market-based policies are the best, and any command-based or command and control, restraint and command kind of policies cannot be cost effective. That's kind of the upfront message. So the idea of controlling greenhouse gas emissions usually takes one of the two forms, as we already know. Market-based incentives, giving polluters a financial reason to cut back, and it's argued that these are the best because they go across all products, all manufacturing processes, all socioeconomic groups to come up with the most cost-effective way of reducing emissions, with the caveat that sometimes you need to be aware of the inequities these costs will, these market-based incentives will cause. So there are arguments by others arguing that market-based policies cannot do it by themselves, so you need a combination of, let's say, carbon tax and some command-based regulations. Command-based regulations then requiring that emissions fall below a certain level, often through the use of specific technologies like switching your light bulb from incandescent to LEDs. We went through CFL, compact fluorescent light, to now LEDs. Okay, so the first approach aims low, but latter can incentivize greater reduction. Okay, what are the details and difficulties? So the main thing will be that the market-based policies put a direct cost like a carbon tax. So it's like, let's say, $30 per ton. Some appropriate market based pricing system has to evolve, but nonetheless it's a direct cost on each ton of carbon you would emit for anything you buy, for driving, for traveling, etc. Whereas the cost effectiveness in the command-based systems mainly come through opportunity costs. But anyways, the first thing we need to learn is the incentives and the source of cost effectiveness depend on externalities and external cost. We already saw what the externalities mean. We'll see that again here. So external costs and benefits, let's say, from wind farms. There are private costs involved in land, planning permission, manufacturing wind turbines, installing them, and the associated labor costs. The external costs are to the visual pollution. People don't like to see it in their front yard or backyard. Installation and transport congestion, obviously any construction, and these are massive blades. I don't know if you go drive in India, sometimes you run into these trucks which have multiple trailers attached to carry one blade, which is as high as I don't know, a 2-story building or 3-story, maybe even more. They're massive. Okay, so falling property prices in the area. Some communities prohibit putting up windmills in the backyard because that drops property values. Private benefits, on the other hand, cheaper electricity in the long run, especially if economies of scale and new wind farm technologies can be used. Less impact on personal health than fossil fuel. So even though it may look ugly, it's better than burning a diesel generator or driving around or any other form of electricity you get other than solar, geothermal, and so on. So there are external benefits like fewer harmful gases being emitted, employment created. There's a multiplier effect, as it is referred to. Technology can be used to can be exported overseas, as Germany did for a long time. China did. India is preventing imports because they are producing their own and so on, so they save money by not importing. Lower taxpayer subsidies required in the long run. Okay, what is the role of the policy then? Policy should create more and faster environmental change than is happening through the current actions or the lack thereof. Okay, technology may be automatically introducing better fuel efficiency of cars, star-rated appliances, and so on. But if you want to incentivize more and faster change, then you need a policy to accomplish the change in a way that minimizes cost to all parts of the society. Okay, achieving cost effectiveness in an equitable way across society, especially protecting the most vulnerable subgroups, requires careful consideration of policy design and distribution of any revenues. So in the last chapter we talked about the cost-benefit ratios of policies and their effectiveness and efficiency. Here we are talking about cost-effective policies and what are the choices, what are the pros and cons. Okay, so cost effectiveness, to bring about cost effectiveness, basically it means you use the cheapest input for every action that's involved. The action is very personal, individual, or community level, industry level, but the list can be very long, like driving to work, public transportation versus driving, buying certain light bulbs, buying certain appliances or ways of manufacturing things, transporting products, importing products, exporting products, and so on. So let's say you're talking simply about rooftop solar panels. Okay, if you want to have a command-based policy, then you have to account for the fact that somebody sitting in California may have a very easy time producing power from solar panels because they have many more sunny days than if you live at a high latitude or in the Northeast where there are winters, storms, rainfall that just reduce the number of sunny days. Okay, so the list of the cheapest items and to achieve goals under command and control can be impossible because you will need a master list of all the items to reach the cheapest route overall. This is argued to be pretty much impossible. So off the bat, the argument is that command-based policies are going to have a very hard time maximizing cost effectiveness or being cost effective because they by nature aim at specific actions like driving, like solar panels on rooftops, like buying energy from renewables versus fossil fuels. So there are too many actions, which means too many exceptions needed, and the list can get very long. And yet the point is that somehow governments prefer command-based policies. Why is that? Okay, we'll look at some of those points.